Let's do this. So y'all ready? Let's hear some, I want to see some like, yes, let's go. Let's do this. I need some energy going on in that chat room. Y'all ready? Oh, we're recording. Thank you. What's happening? What's up, Bryce? All right, everyone. Well, I hope you're ready because today it's going to be a fun day. Okay. I had this idea about changing things up a little bit, right? So the idea for today is all about adding agents to your brokerage without overloading your system. So I'm going to put a little different perspective on it. And I know Kristen's going to be watching the chat window for me. So if you have a question along the way, please drop it into the chat box. And I'm going to stick around to make sure I answer all the questions at the end of this. But if you do have one, please go ahead and drop that in there because I want to make sure we answer those today. And we're going to change the way we look at things and go back and do a review of a couple of the classes that we've talked about so far in today's presentation, because I know for me, it helps when I change the perspective of my thought process. And I had this aha the other day going, wow, I've never looked at recruiting in this particular light, as well as the onboarding process. So I'm excited about today. I might get through this in 15 minutes. It might be 30. Who knows? If I get on a roll talking, it might be upwards of 45 to an hour. I don't know. But I want to make sure I answer all your questions as we talk about onboarding and not overloading your system. So here we go. All right. So getting started, I want you to put yourself into a position. Like I want you to start thinking about in the eyes of working with a buyer. All right. Well, you have an opportunity when working with a new client that comes on. Well, you can have a couple of options, right? They have different perspectives. Like they can go new construction and they can enjoy a process of going into a builder, going into that shop and actually getting to design their perfect ideal home, right? That home from the ground up where they get to break ground, they get to make decisions, they get to say what color paint they want, like how many rooms do they want, like how many stories, they get to make all these decisions along the way. Well, I want you to think about a brand new agent getting started in our industry, just like a new construction home. Right? So starting in the beginning, you get to build from the foundation up and you get to take off with them and help them design their ideal perfect home, which is pretty cool, right? Like we get to help build their dream home. But I also want you to think about the resale, right? If you're working with a client and maybe they don't want to wait 6 months, 9 months to build a house because there is some downside to building new construction, right? It takes a little bit more time to get up and going. Well, on a resale side, I want you to think of this like an experienced agent. All right, so maybe there has to be a little rehab. There has to be paint, new carpet, something that goes into this project or into this resale home. However, by making a little tweak, it actually could potentially be the home that they desire and they're going to live in for the next 5, 7, 10, 15 years. All right, so we're going to look at things in the eyes of a home inspector today. All right, you're probably thinking, what on earth, Nathan, where are you going with this? But I want you to put this mindset and think about it a little differently and imagine taking a look at somebody's business from an unbiased perspective, and you're not tied to an outcome essentially. All right, so you get to truly go into this recruiting appointment and find out what's best in it for them. So that's the beauty of an inspector. That's why we hire an inspector, right? Like we pay them a fee, we have them come in and we have them look at the house. Well, it's their opinion of what the home, like what's wrong with the home and what should you maybe dive into a little bit deeper to maybe fix, right? Or make it safe. So this is a great opportunity for us moving forward, because whether you're working with a resale or maybe you're looking at a new construction, everything starts with the foundation. And I always, working with inspectors in the past, it was amazing. You knew the ones that would go in and they're looking at every nook and cranny. They're looking at faceplates and they're like, oh, this faceplate has a little crack in it. Well, they're focusing on some of the cosmetic things. Well, I had some other inspectors that I loved that they did those things as well, but they made sure to emphasize the bones of the property. Right? They need to look at the things that are going to make the house stand and last for a long period of time, right? Because if the foundation of the property is cracked and if it's off kilter a little bit, guess what? That home is going to have problems and it's going to affect a lot of different things. Well, no matter where you start with an agent today, if they're brand new, it all starts with, guess what? The foundation. Like, we have to look at their business plan. We have to help them understand the things that need to happen, right? That's why we have several courses like the 19 things they don't teach you in real estate school. It's an amazing course all around fundamentals, right? We talked about track a while back and making sure that they know why they're in business to do what they're doing and the goals that they want to set for themselves. So reflecting on a foundation that people can build upon. Well, the next thing is talking about skills, right? So we have a strong foundation and we want to make sure that we have now the skills, right? This is us framing the house. If we're looking at it this way, we want to make sure that those are straight, right? And they're square, because if they're ever off, is it going to be able to last long term? So the next thing, here we go. We're talking about systems, right? We get to move into that systems phase where all of a sudden we may not have to look at the entire house. Maybe it's just, hey, it may be time for a tune-up, right? As an inspector, there would be several times, yeah, you might want to have a licensed professional come out and look at this piece of the property. Or maybe it's a matter of helping a brand new agent to go, maybe it's time in your business where we installed that air conditioner, right? We put a certain system in place to help them move forward, whether it's like a follow-up program with their database or their sphere of influence, or you know, outside of doing market study. And how are you going to make sure that you're constantly aware of what's going on in your world, right? In your neighborhood, because it's a local relationship driven business, but you have to have systems that are scalable. So this is the concept, all the way building up to that achievement phase where we get to put that roof on top of this house or this business in an unbiased manner as this inspector. So we look at all of these different things and we put people into this achievement, this achievement process, right? And I'm sure if you drop it in the chat box, to see we have some chats and stuff, like, but how often do you hear or see somebody that either builds a new construction home or they even do a resale, and within a year, there's something that they're going, oh, I just don't like this, or this doesn't work for me. If I had it to do over again, here's what I would have done. Well, guess what? When you get to that achievement phase and you've built that roof over the systems, over the skill set, and over the foundation to protect the foundation of their business, you get to start the process over again and be like, you don't have to wait 5 to 7 years, right? As soon as you get through that achievement phase and there's pressure then put onto that house, you get to take them back to square one and be like, how now can we build this for future growth? All right. So hopefully this is resonating with you, because it's up to you on who your ideal agent is, right? If you're going to be focusing on those new agents, you know, having a plan for them to help build from the ground up, you know, that first 30, 60, 90 days that they join you, like, what is your process? What does your system look like that's scalable for you and have leverage? And we're going to get into that here in just a little bit, but we're helping them build from the foundation up. The next thing is, though, what if you are talking to a producing agent, somebody that's been in the business for a little while, and you can see that on the slide right now that the walls are shifting, right? Maybe the systems are off. Maybe it's time to replace that air conditioner or the plumbing or the electric inside the home. And what if all of a sudden, as that inspector, you get to look at this in an unbiased approach and say, you know what? I would love to be the general contractor for you. I would love to point you in the right direction and help you along the way with this if you desire that, right? If this is something you're wanting help with, here's how we can do that, right? That's when you get to share your value and what you're doing that's different than everybody else, but getting to be a partner with them and say, you know what? Let's shore up the foundation. Let's square those walls. Let's put these systems in place to help you reach your potential and the goals that you have for yourself, right? So we get to make this shift happen with those resale agents and those producing agents that come in day one and maybe make a small tweak to help them go even further. All right. So as we continue on through this journey, it's all about building a solid house, right? It's building that home where people can move into and continue on the path of getting to ultimately to their goals and their dream home. So I want to talk about systems, right? We're going to talk about a systems evaluation real quick. And we know that systems like look at these two companies that are on the screen right now, like two very prominent companies. And Disney, I love the magic that's in it. I'm kind of a Disney nerd. And McDonald's, right? Whether you love it, you hate it, you're on vacation. Here's the deal. McDonald's, it's easy, it's quick, it's convenient. But I want to ask you, are the systems inside of these companies customizable? Right? Are they customizable? Because I know when I book a trip to Disney, I go through a travel agent and I go through that whole process and I get to customize the experience for myself. But do the systems behind Disney change? They really don't, right? So I can say I want to go to Magic Kingdom and I want to go to, I want to go to Hollywood Studios. I get to choose what that looks like and then take that path. Just like if I'm on a road trip or whatever, I'm going through McDonald's and I order a Big Mac. Well, guess what? The system's in place from how to drop the fries in and how to make the Big Mac, right? It's all there. But as the customer, I get to come back through and say, you know what? I don't want lettuce. I don't want any of the special McDonald's sauce on my Big Mac, right? So there is a little bit of customization that happens in this process. And so look at that. Like, what do your systems look like? Are they so strong that you know the value that you bring and the systems that you have in place, and that you can tweak those to help that agent put in the air conditioner inside their business or put a system in place inside their business without overloading yourself? Okay. So how are we doing? We're doing good. I know we're flying right through this, and I want to keep going because we got some more information coming. But everything that we just went through, right? This is a review of what we did a little while back, talking about track and helping get agents into production the fastest way possible, right? In 90 days, having systems in place to do that is important. But if you look at this and you look at the approach that we just went through, especially with track, right? We have a program in place to help people do this over a course of 90 days from start to finish that's geared to help them get 12 transactions in a 12-week period, right? It's mathematically proven. And we focus on these 4 main areas and all of the different skills and systems that they may need along the way. So that's for somebody who's brand new. Well, now imagine that you're working with that resale person and you're coming back and maybe all they need, right? Maybe they're closing 15, 20 transactions a year and their goal is to get to 36 as a solo agent. Maybe all they need is a little bit of look at their systems and you say, you know what? We have an amazing program in place that will help you do this. And I want to put you into that client care experience, because if you can focus on your database and start marketing and prospecting to your database at a higher level, maybe that will get you to the next point. So maybe it's not everything, maybe it's something like client experience, okay? So that's our quick review of track. And so how not to overload your systems. We're gonna start getting into this, and it really boils down to 3 things. One, we have to start in a planning phase. Like, we've got to find out what's the right planning? What do we have to do? And I love this proverb. If you don't have a plan for yourself, you'll be a part of somebody else's. I want that to sink in, right? If all of a sudden you don't take the time to think about these things and put it in place, and somebody comes in, you're going to feel pressure. You're going to feel a need to move and bend and shift your company to their needs and desires, right? So I want you to take the time and plan this. So how can you do that, right? So you're going to start by planning. Well, what's the value that you're bringing? What's unique? What is your unique value proposition in the market that you serve? Right. And I love the thing that we talk about. And I know we talked about it in a previous class that, who is your ideal agent? Who is that person that is going to fit your mold inside of your company? Who is that? And what value do you bring to them? What's your unique process as far as onboarding? Do you have a process in place right now? And then what would be important to you if you were to be onboarding inside of your own company? All right, so that's the planning phase. Like, we want to make sure that we're doing that. The second thing is we've got to look and challenge our systems. What systems do you have for your onboarding? Is it an Excel spreadsheet? Is it a Google sheet? Is it, is there a program that you have running to track this and make sure that you're getting people through in a systematic approach? And so if you're already a partner with us right now and you're on this, I appreciate you being on here. Hopefully you're learning something today because, and if you're not and you're new to us, I appreciate that as well. And what we want to do is I'm going to be actually sending out as a part of this with this recording and the recap of this, we're going to be sending out an example of what we have as one of our tools. And this is our onboarding process. This is our onboarding sheet. And this is really cool because not only do you get to stop and plan everything, like this is a place where you can kind of do one of those brain dumps, and everything that you desire to have happen inside of the onboarding process, you get to put in here, and you can put it right onto this spreadsheet. Well, what if, I'm going to challenge you here a little bit, what if all of a sudden maybe there was another section at the bottom of this and you had a process that said, how do I customize the systems and the tools and resources that I have access to? How do I customize this for every agent that comes in, right? Maybe somebody wants to add bacon on their Big Mac, and maybe another person doesn't want the lettuce, right? Or maybe somebody wants to go to Epcot and just take a tour of the world and hit all the restaurants, right? Like, what if all of a sudden you had such confidence in your processes and your systems, and you had a partner in your behind you to put these in place for you? So this is what this is all about. Like, and we're going to send this out, and I want to make sure that everybody gets this. So, and if you have any questions, like I said, we're going to answer these all here at the end. So that's that. Everybody's going to get access to that. And then finally, the third part is going to be the implementation phase. We have to stop and figure out who is going to own this process. If you're just launching your company, it may be you, right? Well, at what point does it become too much for you to handle to give the level of service that you promised to the people that chose you as their broker? And then how do we need to go about finding leverage so that somebody else might be able to pick up and implement this process for you? Do you think it's going to be easier for somebody to step into it if the process is already in place? Yeah, I think so. Like, I think it's going to be easier if they're like, well, here's the process that I have to follow. You've already done it. You've already planned it and put it in place. Guess what? It's going to be easy for them to make sure that the ball's not dropped on future agents joining your company. All right. It creates a checks and balance too when you have these systems in place. And the other amazing thing too is when you find this talent, guess what they're going to do to that process? They're going to +1 it, right? They're going to take it to the next level and make sure that by taking it off of your plate, maybe it's just something that's as simple. I know, my wife, there's just, go back to a company I started several years ago, and I kept talking about it. I talked about it, and I planned it, had it all mapped out, and I did all these things. And I even had a system in place that was my system, right? And so I would go through and do the whole process from start to finish for every person that we brought into the company. Well, all of a sudden it got to a point where I was just exhausted. I couldn't go anymore. And I love her to death. And Mallory, if you're watching this, thank you for doing this, because what she forced me to do is sit down at our dining room table and get so granular with the process to say, if I handed this manual to anybody, that they could do the process for this company. And it was so simple as like, click here, go to this website, log in with these credentials, take this step, like walking through that. And it took some time. It was a little painful for me, right? But it got it done. Like, once I got it done, all of a sudden I was able to hand that process over and create leverage in my world to where I can go back out and do what I wanted to do, which was build the company, right? So implementation is extremely important, and it does take a little planning. It takes make sure that you have the systems in place, and you have to make sure that you're doing the implementation. So there we go. Making sure that you have systems in place for your ideal agent. Make sure you key out on this, your ideal agent, and that you're going to take them through the process. And we've all seen those commercials where somebody drops, onto that green line, and it's all about financing, and it's a pathway, right, to get them to their financial goal as far as investment. Well, think about the same process here. Like, what is your green pathway? What is that point from A to B where you're going to take somebody through this process? And that's what I would challenge you as you're going through and you're implementing these systems, you're shoring up your onboarding process. Do the planning and take the time to get it right. All right. So if you have questions and you need help with this, we are here. If you're a guest and you're watching this right now, I appreciate you hanging out and going through this process with me. But just know that as the all-inclusive real estate coaching company, we're here. We're all about coaching, community, and collaborations, and really being your partner in this process, from start to finish, as we focus on growth, retention, productivity, and profitability. If you want to know more and you want to set up a demo and find out more about this, you can go down here and go to tlrnation.com/partners and set up and request a demo with any one of us and find out how we're changing the game inside the real estate world. So I appreciate everybody being on here today. And right now, I want to open this up for questions. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to go open up the chat box here, and let's see what's going on inside the chat here. Okay. All right, let's go back through here. I want to make sure I got these right. All right. So, Kristen, is there anything that jumped out to you? Quick, easy, convenient. Are they customizable? On a macro scale, no. Yes. On a micro scale, yes. Track is a macro system scale. Yep. All right. So, onboarding spreadsheet is a macro. Yes, tweak it, your office at the micro level, right? You get to decide what that looks like. The onboarding spreadsheet is macro. Yeah. Thank you, Kristen, for putting that in there. And then Amy just said, we implemented the spreadsheet and then they customized it for them, right? So it's a tool that you're going to be able to gain access to here very shortly. Once we get this recording out, you're going to be able to gain access to this and customize it for your own company. So let's see, any other questions or anything? Hopefully I was able to communicate that well today and maybe change the way we thought about recruiting just a little bit and how we onboard agents into our company. So any other questions? I flew through that today. It was awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, well, very good. Thank y'all so much for being a part of this today. Amy just said, love the new construction versus resale with agents. Yeah, just change the way we, think about the process, right? Put ourselves back into a mode of production and how do we look at the different approaches. So anyways, I'm going to cut it off early. I'm straight to the point and we're going to get through this at 25 minutes today. So thank y'all so much for being here. Have an awesome day and we'll see y'all around the Locker Room Nation.